All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
Oh, baby, we're live talking some MMA, one of my favorite shows every single week, joined by Big Marley as usual, breaking down everything UFC 290. It's going to be a fun one, man. It's a really, really sick card. When it comes to DFS, though, it's unlike something we've really ever seen, or at least in my recent memory. I've been playing since before the pandemic. I do not remember a card quite like this. 14 fights, you love to see that. Lately, it's been 12. Lucky to hold on to 12 fights, 14 here. Almost everybody is weighed in. It looks like we're only weighed down a couple people. Everyone's made weight so far, so that is good to see. But, man, there are some big boy favorites. 7 of the 14 have favorites minus 300 or higher, and only 3 fights have a favorite less than minus 200. And all 14 fights are expected to finish. Pantoja, Brandon Moreno just slightly favored. The Uruguay fight, Denise Gomes slightly favored to finish as well. You're going to see some big scores, no doubt about it. Getting the right underdogs is going to be key. Before I throw it to Marley, though, this show is sponsored by Drafters. Head over to drafters.com. Use the promo code SHIPIT. You get a deposit bonus up to $100, $20 to $100. They'll match you 100%. Marley and I talking best ball yesterday. We'll be doing best ball shows going forward on Drafters. Awesome big prize pools over there, 300,000 to first. We got rankings up on the site as well. So sponsored by Drafters, Ship It is the promo code. Marley, I'll bring you in, man. I'm pumped for this one in Vegas. 6 Eastern, 14 fights, big boy names, 2 title fights, man. What's going on?
Yeah, this is a wild one. I've never seen a card where we have 3 guys favored, minus 1,000 or more. We've got a 9,800 and 9,700 and 9,600 all on DraftKings. Never seen that. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be hard to find underdogs too. I don't feel very good about some underdogs or really any underdogs on this card. So hopefully you could talk some sense into me, point me in the direction of a couple of them that you like, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know how much help I'll really be. I mean, of course, you got to play underdogs in your pool. You play the game on DraftKings. It's a salary game. Of course, we'll be playing, mixing in underdogs. Do I feel good about it? No, but that's why I like the 20 entry max, $3 contest. There's also 150 max. I believe it's a dollar out there, 50 cents. I'm not able to see them exactly under $3, but the big boy $25 one, I'll be in that lotto, like 35,000 people as most as we've seen. A lot of good qualifiers out there as well. Big boy prize pools throughout the industry. So very excited for that. Before we go fight by fight, though, Nate D's in here, Brian England, CJ's in here, Mike Carr, Rummy, Sean B. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Fun card. We do appreciate all we ask from you on this show. Like button. When you hit that like button, subscribe button right next to it. Trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. And if you want all of my content breaking down all the fights, Marley's fight rankings, he gives his predictions on each fight, ranks them on a scale to 6. He has that up on the site as well. Core plays from us too. Hoop as well, who shipped again last week. I mean, that dude is on an absolute roll. All of that, as well as ownership projections. Marley did drop in the Discord as well. That is going to be on the site in the coming weeks. Again, we're getting it all back tested. We're getting it all linked up to Solver. Solver is also our partner optimizer. If you just want it for one sport, $24.99. If you just want it for MMA, let's say $24.99. Otherwise, you can add it for all the sports as well. Head over to shipitnation.com. Check that out. Yeah, Marley, we'll go fight by fight. 14 big ones. We'll start, as always, from bottom to top. First fight of the night, Esteban Ribovics, Camuela Kirk. One of the closest line fights on the card. We got 8,500 for Ribovics, 7,700 for Kirk. Ribovics sitting about minus 150, Kirk plus 130 on the way back, minus 215 to end inside the distance. All these fights are pretty much expected to finish. This fight is in the mid-tier, so naturally we're going to get to a lot of these dogs like plus 700, plus 800. Like 7,700 Camuela Kirk right away is going to be pretty popular just because his win equity at that price is pretty good. I'll say I like Ribovics in this fight, though. I'm kind of looking at it more of a clash of styles. I mean, Kamala Kirk's definitely the better grappler, first-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. However, he just doesn't really use – I mean, his fight IQ can be tilting. He'll go out there, he'll strike. He should get it to the mat. He should get it to the mat in this one. We just saw Ribovics get taken down 11 times. On the feet, though, man, Ribovics, his UFC debut, he did lose to Radzabov, like I said. But anytime that fight was on the feet, those hands are fast. The dude has power. Throws a bunch of combinations. I think Ribovics knocks him out. Kamala Kirk, I got him in round 2, something like that. I think the hand speed's too much. He showed a solid get-up game. And Kamala Kirk, the longer this fight goes, we have seen him slow down as it goes. But I'm going to have some Kirk at 7,700 because you look at these other dogs below 7,700. I don't like many. So Ribovics by knockout for me. I do think he will be lower owned than Kamala Kirk. But it's a great fight to target. I expect a fun one to start it off. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely on the Kirk side of this, but it's more so because I was searching for underdogs on this card. I just think this is close to a pick'em fight. But I do agree. I think Ribovics is the better striker in this one. He's very live for a knockout. He's plus 100 inside the distance, which is pretty solid. It's just that his takedown defense was so pathetic in that debut where Kirk would be an idiot to not look to try and take him down. I think he's got a black belt, if I'm not mistaken, in BJJ. So I think Kirk should have an edge on the ground, and he has a clear path to get it there by this guy just not knowing how to stop a takedown. So that is what made me pick Kirk. But if he doesn't look to wrestle, I don't feel good about him winning the fight. And even if he did win the fight, if he won a striking-based decision, he's probably not even going to 10X. So I don't have a ton of interest in Kirk based on the field. Probably is going to like him a lot. But he's one of very few underdogs I'm picking to win on the card. So for that reason, I will be getting exposure to him. I would guess like 20, 25%, something like that, which probably just puts me around the field weight. But with Ribovics, I just don't want to get exposure to him because I want to target other underdogs who I'm picking to win. You know, I think he is a great pivot away from these chalkier favorites. So if you're picking him to get a knockout, I do think it makes a lot of sense to throw him in GPPs. And you might have talked me into not fading him with that knockout prediction because he should be low owned. And if he is plus 100 inside the distance, if he gets it, he's going to score well. So my curtain jerkers are the ones I like to target. This one is one of my least favorite fights on the card, I would say, just as an overall points scoring projection. But give me the underdog. I'll take Kirk by a split decision.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like I said, why I like Ribovics. Of course, I break down all these fights before I even look at the lines, before I even look at ownership, all that. I make predictions myself. I already had Ribovics by KO. Then the nature of this card, and you go through it, he's definitely going to be lower owned than Kamala Kirk. He's going to be one of the lower owned in this range because, yeah, you look at it, people are going to try and find 200 more for Brandon Moreno, 300 more for Jalen Turner. Like, it's kind of in this dead range right here. They're just going to drop down and go to the Crute Menifield fight. I think Ribovics knocks him out. You get ownership leverage off of Kirk. Ribovics, if he knocks him out, man, I mean, he could put up 100 right there. At 8,500, you do get a price discount. Salary is really tough. I'm not leaving much salary on this card at all. Right. I don't see many dogs come through. So this mid-tier, I definitely will be living in a little bit. And yeah, with the ownership discount, I think Ribovics does catch him. Totally agree with you, though. Kamala Kirk, he should come out here, and he should definitely try to wrestle. I am worried, though, if he does do that, like he should, if he doesn't get an early sub, though, I don't know how that gas tank is going to look. I mean, he was gassed against Americani. So was Americani, the dude, the notorious gasser in him. But, yeah, no, it's an interesting fight for sure. Kamala Kirk will be the higher-owned guy. I like Ribovics in it. You like Kirk. Like you said, yeah. There's some guys, I'm going to pick one dog later, and my reasoning kind of was, I just have so many favorites on this card. I wanted one dog, so I picked them, and I don't feel good about it at all. But, yeah, give me Ribovics by KO. Big Marley has Kirk by decision. I'll have some Kirk, though. Again, just 7,700. Even if he got 80 points, do I like it? No. But if no underdogs win on this card, which if you look at the odds, that's not the craziest thing, and we have seen no underdogs win, 80 points at 7,700 could be enough. Maybe not. Maybe a loser like a Yair or something would score 60 and just naturally because of that price and that 700. It's not a guaranteed on the optimal by any means, but if you promise me any underdog wins, I'm loading up on them on this one, no doubt about it. So, yeah, that's the first fight of the night. Kind of a clash of styles I'm seeing. It should be a fun one, though. We'll keep it rolling. literally the same exact thing, pretty much. Carbon copy of that last one. $100 more is Jesus Aguilar. $100 less is Shannon Ross. Again, another very closely lined fight on this card. Shannon Ross or Aguilar minus 145. Shannon Ross somewhere around plus 120. This fight also expected to finish minus 160 to minus 185. I'm kind of seeing this one, man. Shannon Ross, I just can't pick Shannon Ross. I'll say that in any fight. The dude's durability, I'm scared Augusta win will knock the dude out. He's got knocked out the past 2 fights. Salvador's pretty solid. Clinton Rodriguez just walked right through him in 59 seconds. I think he's an okay striker, but if they're going hammer for hammer, I don't trust him being the hammer. And Jesus Aguilar, I think takedowns could be there for him. He's a wrestle boxer, 8-2, 6 of his 8 wins by submission. But this dude's guillotine is absolutely nasty. I'm picking him by guillotine. He had Tyra in like a 3.5-minute guillotine, and that was tight for a while. We'll talk about Tyra in a little bit. Complete stud. Man, on the feet, I mean, I think Aguilar can throw hammers. I think it'll be interesting there. I think he can mix in takedowns, though, and I think he's going to be hunting for that gilly. And if he does, if he has him in the same spot, he had Tyra in, Shannon Ross is tapping. However, we go back to the same thing we just said. What Shannon Ross is going to be 2-3 times as high owned, no doubt about that. Aguilar is going to be one of the lowest owned in this range. Inside the distance, props good. It's just people are going to want to go Moreno for 100 more. People are going to go Jalen Turner for a couple hundred more. They're going to want to go Crute Menifield. He falls in that dead range right away. This Ribovics, Aguilar, they're going to be lower owned even as the favorite with decent inside the distance props. This is the leverage I look to because I'm not going to be playing these plus 800 dogs that way. So these are the spots I'll get leverage. But I'll have some Shannon Ross literally just because of the money line equity it gives on this card. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, more on the Aguilar side of this one. I think Ross is in play just as a live dog, but I don't see him scoring well unless he gets a knockout. And even if he won a striking-based decision, it probably means that he's spending a lot of time trying to stuff takedowns or working his way back up to his feet where he's just not scoring during those moments. So I could see him winning a decision and scoring 50 to 60 points. I'm just not too interested in that. So I do think the field will be on him. I'd rather just let them have the leverage. I'd go with Kirk instead. But I want some exposure, or I want some leverage to Aguilar in this one because he is a guy that wants to get the fight to the ground early and often. He's never had a knockout, but he throws bombs more so to try and close the gap and get the fight to the ground. But if he lands a bomb on Ross, it could be his first knockout for sure. I just think he's more in play for a wrestling heavy decision where he could score 90 plus, 100 plus, or a submission. The guillotine is great. I think that's very in play as well. He fought someone else on this card. I think the guy fighting Tyra, and I felt like he landed 10 plus takedowns in that fight. It was a 5-rounder, but he was taking him down repeatedly. And I think that's a great game plan for DraftKings. You could do that against a lot of lower level guys in the UFC. So give me Aguilar. I like that style. I'll be overweight to him, underweight to Ross.
Yeah, I mean, these first 2 fights, I'm glad that that's how they started off because these are the exact same pretty much. The underdog will be more popular. It's within 100. Both fights are exposed to finish. Ribovics has a little better inside the distance prop. Aguilar he will wrestle more, obviously, than Ribovics. Ribovics won't be wrestling, though. Right here, like I said, we'll be talking a lot about these big favorites and really low-owned dogs. I'm not taking a shot on them. If they win, I'm not going to be on the winner. So I have to get leverage somewhere. These 2 fights right here, I like getting leverage on. And again, I'm not fading the 7,700, 7,600 because they have some of the best win equity on the card for their price. And you need dogs on this card to come through. But I think they both lose. So I definitely like the Aguilar side here. And yeah, I'm picking by Gilly. This dude's Gilly is absolutely nasty. Before we get to the next fight, we got our man Slappy in here. Oki is in here as well. First time being able to catch it live. Love to see that, Oki. Jay Cohen as well. Hope everybody out there having a good Friday. And all we do is all we ask from you, like button, big subscribe button right next to it. Takes 2 seconds out of your day. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. Bringing you these shows every single week on the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. Let's keep it rolling. That's enough of the closely lined fights. A lot of these are going to be big boy favorites coming up. Cameron Simone, Terrence Mitchell, Cameron Simon, minus 550. About minus 550 still. Plus 400 on the way back for Terrence Mitchell. minus 450 this fight finishes. Cameron Simon, minus 325 inside the distance prop. I'll throw it to you, man. What are you doing in this one?
I do kind of like this fight. Well, I mean, all the big favorites, pick your poison. Whoever you want, go for it. If you can afford them, go ahead and do it. But I like that he's only 9,400, and he's got the same upside as Bo Nickel and JDM and Tyra. He scored 105 in his decision win in the UFC, and then he scored 118 in a third-round knockout win. I mean, I don't know that Bo Nickel will even be in the fight long enough to be able to score 118 fights, unless it's in 60
it's
seconds.
over a minute. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I would probably rather just pay a little bit less for Simon. He's got a minus 300 inside the distance line. I think he could knock out Mitchell in any round. I like his striking a lot. He's got a high-paced striking style. I don't see him wanting to wrestle, but I think he's got a solid ground game too. And then on the other end, Mitchell's the lowest I'm willing to go on this card. He showed flashes of skills in his Alaskan regional scene fights. He's getting knockouts. He's getting quick submissions off his back. So I think he's in play for a flash finish here, and he'd score well if that happens. Not a play I want much of, but if I need 6,800 to get up to some other guys, if I'm trying to get JDM or Bo Nickel in some lineups, Mitchell might be my path to do that. But I'll be higher on the same side. I'm picking him to get a first or second round knockout here. It's just that if Mitchell does pull off this win, I expect him to be on the optimal lineup, and I like him more so than the plus 1,000 underdogs.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like in my 150, I still haven't decided. In my 20 teams or lower, again, I do like the $23 haymaker. A lot of the Qs are like 14 right now. Then there's like a 34 max Q. I like the MME format more. I don't think I'm going to get to Mitchell there in my 150 teams. I'm probably going to have some. It's just, man, these guys from the Alaska regional scene, yeah, like 7 wins by KO, 7 wins by sub, 14-2. I mean, these dudes are fighting Uber drivers. Like, they're as bad as it gets. Cameron Simon is a complete stud. You look at, I mean, he's very young. He's only 22 years old. Look at his last performance against Mana Martinez. Mana Martinez would wipe the floor with Terrence Mitchell, I think. Steven Kozlow. I don't think Kozlow is very good, but I think Steven Kozlow is wiping the floor with Terrence Mitchell. The guy just does not see. I think Cameron Simon has him beat wherever the fight goes. On the feet, I don't even think it's close. Simon prefers to strike. Terrence Mitchell does prefer to get the fight on the mat and wrestle. So you at least do have some outs that way. Maybe early. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple takedowns early, maybe some top control, which can score well. But the longer this fight goes, Simon's gas tank, there's no worry there. Very good volume. Knockdowns are in play. Like the longer this fight goes, I just think Simon takes over. Maybe a late first round finish, maybe a second round finish. I agree with you with Mitchell though. Like I'd rather target him or play him than I would against the guy fighting against Bo Nickel, the guy fighting against the Sewer Tyra. Like these guys, I'd rather take a shot on him. Plus 400 is a lot more appealing than plus 850. But I think Simon's better really wherever the fight goes. So haven't completely decided what I'll do in my 150. Doubt I'll get to any Mitchell though in 20 entry and below. But yeah, I mean, he does want to wrestle. So at least you do have that out. I don't think it's the craziest play on this slate. But yeah, I got Simon by first round, second round knockout. How does Mitchell win? WW's asking. Yeah, I think it's takedowns and top control, or Cameron Simon is notorious for losing points, whether it's nut shots, eye pokes, all of that. The dude has lost points in, I think, both of his UFC fights, or lost like 2 last fight or something. That is how he would lose, get a DQ, or he just can't get up or something. But I don't see that being the case. Big Driggs in here. Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Absolutely. Here every single week, breaking down fights for you. We'll keep it rolling, though. Big favorite right there. Next fight, I mean, I guess it's not the biggest favorite. On a normal card, it would be, but Victor Petrino, Marcin Prachnio, Petrino, somewhere around minus 260, Prachnio plus 210. This fight is minus 375 to end inside the distance. Petrino minus 165 to finish. Prachnio about plus 390. So if you're looking at just inside the distance props, 7,200 plus 390, about a plus 220 dog. Like, I'm playing some Prachnio. I think he gets knocked out. I was impressed with Petrino's debut. He was just a primary striker is what I saw. And the guy landed 7 takedowns, and he was going against Tricoli, the wrestler. and he stuck with them in the grappling and ended up finishing them by ground and pound. But I was impressed with what I saw with his grappling against Hercali there. And on the feet, he does his best work. Sam Alvey knocked out Marcin Prachnio. Petrino can definitely knock out Prachnio here. I think Petrino does knock Prachnio out first or second round, but the nature of this slate, I'm going to have Prachnio. There's no doubt about that in my dog pool. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, I think Prachnio's in play, but more so for his knockout potential. These guys are big boys. They got power. It's just that he scored, what was it? He scored 62 and 70.
You pulling up the William Knight fight, the dude that didn't, the guy that literally threw no volume, the most tilting fight of all time for William Knight.
Still, you're fighting a punching bag and you only scored 62 points. I need more than that. So I'm not going to get to too much Prachnio, but I like Petrino a lot, actually. It was a decision win against Turcali, but he landed 7 takedowns, 4 reversals, had like 7 minutes of control time, scored 116 DraftKings points in a decision. So those are just always the kind of guys I like to target in general. I think he has that same type of takedown upside here against Prachnio, but I just think he's more in play for the knockout. He's got huge power. Prachnio had one of the most questionable chins we've seen, a few fights back. People couldn't wait to fade this guy, and then he's just survived a few times since. I think we'll start seeing that again here. I think it'll come early. Petrino, first-round knockout. He is going to be a top 3 play probably on the slate for me. I would rather pay less for him if I need the salary than any of the 9K guys. If I need to save $800, give me Petrino over Bo Nickel, but GPP only. I wouldn't put him there in cash games. Give me the safe plays there. But he will be a leverage play for sure. And I'll go underweight to Prachnio, but he'll be in my player pool.
Yeah, so Jay Cohen asked that same thing. Is Petrino a good leverage play in that price range? You did drop ownership in the Discord. What are your thoughts on Petrino's ownership right in that range? I think it's going to be pretty spread out in the top tier. Like Bo Nickel, I don't think he's really going to be over 40% just because of his salary. I see a lot of those people mixing and matching. Definitely we can pinpoint 2, Robert Whittaker and Uruguay, that are by far going to be the lowest owned in that range. But he's definitely not going to be the highest owned in that range. I don't necessarily know leverage necessarily. What are your thoughts though on that?
Yeah, I think I have him in the 30s. And I know I'm going to be trying to get 40 plus. I'm going to try and get 50+% just because he's so much cheaper than these other guys. And there aren't many underdogs that I like. I just think I'm going to be landing on him over and over again. I've got like 4 lineups maybe that I've hand built so far. I would imagine he's in 3 of those 4 so far. So that's the kind of path I'm looking to go on this card. But Prachnio's not in the other one. So I'm fine fading this fight in some of my lineups. It won't be an all in because I think Prachnio could win a striking base decision and maybe just not get there if other underdogs come through. But if Prachnio wins it all, Petrino's not on the optimal lineup, so I'm not going to be all in on him for that reason.
Yeah, for sure. This is not a card I'd really go all in. If you do go all in on someone, I'd recommend it being a dog that you feel comfortable in, because how I'm just mixing and matching these people in the upper tier. Like I think all of them can score 100 plus very easily. One guy scores 107, then Simon scores 107, then Whittaker scores 110. Well, then Simon's not going to be on the optimal, and it's not because Simon didn't do his job. It's just someone did it a little more. Like Bo Nickel scores then 114, Petrino scores 118. Like I'm expecting multiple 100+ scores, and I like getting the dogs right is how I'm going to try and go about it. Or eliminating dogs I don't think will win out of my pool is how I'm going about it, more than I think pretty much all these big favorites win. They're all pretty much over -300. I'm not going to be fading any of them because I all do think they have optimal upside. And the ones that you feel the least comfortable with, well, they're going to be the lowest owned and they do offer the most leverage up there. So I'm definitely not going to go all in on any of these guys in any range. But if I did, it would be one of these dogs if I had to do it, just because salary's so tough. And if you do get the right dog, they're probably going to be on the winner. But yeah, that is Petrino and Prachnio. I'll have some Prachnio for the price, the money line equity, big boys. Like you said, you never know what happens, but I do think Petrino gets it down round 1 or round 2. Heading to another big boy favorite, Tesura Tyra, Edgar Chayres, 9,600 for Tyra, 6,600 for Chayres. minus 1,100 for Tyra right here, plus 725 on the way back for Edgar. This fight is minus 400 to end inside the distance, and Tyra is minus 300 to get it done. I mean, we know Tyra. He was supposed to fight. He's supposed to fight a couple weeks ago against Clitson Rodriguez, who definitely would have been a much tougher fighter. Tyra wants to get the fight on the mat. He'll look for the takedown early. He'll then take your back. A very nasty, very slick take in the back. And when he does, he'll fish for that rear naked choke, or he'll pretty much lay there, take back control for 5 minutes, and repeat that same process. I think he eventually gets the sub. I don't think Edgar is a bum by any means. But, man, Tyra, this kid's a prodigy, man. People are very excited for him in the future. Already calling a future champ. I think he gets an early takedown, takes the easiest path to victory. He's no bum when it comes on the feet either, but why would he do that? Tyra, first or second round sub, I see it, but he's 9,600. Same thing I just said. He scores 107. Simon for cheaper scores 110. He's not on the winner. So, yeah, it's just another favorite, big boy favorite, multiple of these guys on here. I think he gets it done. He does have takedown and control time upside, which is nice, though, which not all these guys have in the upper tier. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm definitely picking Tyra here. Chayres is the one that fought Aguilar, and Aguilar was taking him down over and over again. So that's the fight that made me think, geez, this Chayres guy has no takedown defense, which is great for Tyra here. And I think Tyra has an easy path to victory through the ground. I do think he could win the striking battle as well, but that's where Chayres is live. I think he can hang, minute to minute if he stays on the feet, but he's more in play for the knockout. I just don't see him winning the decision in this one. And if Tyra wants to get to the ground, I think it's just a matter of time before he locks up a submission probably. So I'd prefer Tyra. It's just, can I afford 9,600? I'd personally rather pay up for nickel or JDM or down for same in those top four. So I doubt I get to Tyra. And I really don't want any Chayres either. I'm not trying to take a shot on him getting a knockout. Tyra scored 103, 107, and 97 in his first 3 wins. All great scores, but at 9,600, I would say that those probably don't make the optimal lineup on this card. So I'm guessing I'm going to X them both out of my player pool because I'm guessing 20 or less lineups for me, and I'd rather target other guys.
That makes sense.
Tyra by submission, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're playing 20 or less. The less lineups you play, you do have to take more stands. I still don't plan on Xing any of the guys above 20. I'm going to X a lot of the dogs, so then I'll be way overweight on certain dogs and then mix and match. I think Tyra will be, again, not low owned by any means, but people are going to want to just go Bo Nickel for 200 more, Volkanovski for 400 less. I think Jack Della, him and those two might be similar ownership. Maybe even Jack Della will be a little higher. I think he is lower owned than multiple guys in that range. So just say you have a lineup and you leave and there's 200 salary that you're leaving and you have Tyra in that lineup. That is how you get different because everyone's going to want to put Bo Nickel in that lineup. Yeah. You go from a 30 dupe lineup right there to a 6 dupe lineup or whatever it may be, just making that little pivot. And again, yeah, Tyra, he only scored 96. We're saying 107, all that. Yeah, I mean, those are good scores. I don't think they're good enough to be on the optimal, but he easily can score more than that. I mean, he's going to look for takedowns, for top control, get a first round sub, something like that. I mean, his ceiling is definitely 125, 130. He could get that. So that's how I'm going to be looking to get different and be building this week. Is if you're looking at your lineup, you have 0 left. The lineup looks good. Change something. Drop down from Bo Nickel to a Tyra. Little stuff like that is how you get different in this upper range. But yeah, I don't think Edgar is a bum by any means. I was actually really impressed with his Contender Series fight against Clayton Carpenter, a guy that was pretty highly touted coming in the UFC. I mean, he stood with him. He did lose a unanimous decision, but for Clayton Carpenter was a big favorite in that fight. Edgar showed good toughness on the feet. The striking's all right. He's shown a submission game as well. You look at it, all 10 of his wins, he has finished 6 by sub, 4 by KO. The thing about Tyra is he's just such a smart fighter, and he is so slick at taking that back. I just don't think Edgar is going to have much for him. And even if somehow Edgar, let's say he got a 3rd round knockout, which, I mean, those odds would be insane. He's probably getting control for the first 10 minutes of that fight. He gets that knockout. He could still score 55, which I would take 55 at that price. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm not going to get to him. I think there's other more live dogs. I'm not fading Tyra. I had Tyra against Clifton Rodriguez. I'm definitely not going to pick him against someone a lot worse. So, yeah, it's Tyra here, one of the biggest favorites on the card. But, yeah, he'll be low-ish owned compared to others in that range. People will want to find the 200 for Nickel, probably 100 for Jack Della, just save the 400 to Volkanovski. But we'll keep it rolling. Another really good fight right here. Rematch, Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menifield, the closest line fight on the card. 8,200 Crute, 8,000 Menifield. About minus 135 for Crute now, plus 115 for Menifield. It opened up close to a pick'em. Crute has taken a little steam since. I mean, under 1.5 is pretty much a pick'em. Fight doesn't go, or fight inside the distance, minus 325. Both Crute and Menifield about plus 145 a piece to get it done. It's clash of styles, man. We saw it in fight one. Menifield wins round 1 and 2, drops them in both rounds. Crute showed all the heart in the world. That dude was really hurt. Round 3, I mean, we saw a fence grab. Mark Goddard had to take a point. Saw Crute secure a takedown. Both guys are gassed. He was able to get 4 minutes of control time there. So Menifield won early, Crute won late, 29-28. But then the point after, it's 28 for a draw. Man, I don't know. This is the tough one for me, obviously. We saw Menifield. He was by far the better striker. Jimmy Crute has no striking defense. Menifield's a grown-ass man, will hit like a truck. Jimmy Crute on the other side, though, he showed he can get takedowns. He didn't have the best control when he did, though. And then both guys were gassed. And, yeah, I mean, then it was a sloppy fight after that. Definitely a great fight to target. Fight's supposed to finish right in the mid-tier. Both guys don't break the bank on a card that doesn't have much salary relief. I'll side with the wrestler. I'll side with Jimmy Crute. He did show he could get takedowns. He did have to work on his top control. I assume that's what he's been working on all camp. Very live for a submission as well. But confidence, I mean, how are you that confident in a fight that we literally just saw and Menifield had him rocked multiple times and hurt? So I'll side with the wrestler. Yeah, not the most confident. So I'll definitely have both sides of this fight. What about you?
Yeah, I think this is the most important fight to target in GPPs because it's that mid-range. Vegas is giving it an 80% chance of ending inside the distance. And we saw how crazy it was the first time. Menifield almost killed him in the first round, almost knocked him out again in the second round. Crute had him in a deep rear naked choke where I thought he was going to get a finish at one point. At the end of the fight, he's laying all these little hammer fists on the ground that add up. So I expect the winner, as long as it's not a draw. I was all in on this fight last time too, and it burned me. But I'm just going back to it. I'm all in. I love the stylistic matchup. I think Menifield's getting a knockout, or Crute's going to win on the ground, whether that be a decision with possible 10 takedowns, or a ground and pound knockout, or a submission. I just think Crute has more ways to win. I often side with the wrestler over the striker. But this will be an all-in fight for me, 90 to 100% of my lineups. And I see me having like 65% Crute, 35% Menifield, something like that. So Crute will be a core play for me, but Menifield will be in all the other lineups. I plan on kind of just hand building. I'll start with Crute. He'll be one of the first people I put in. I'll start plugging in other people I like. If I need $200, I'll just go down to Menifield. And then even if my favorite couple Crute lineups, maybe I'll just duplicate it, throw Menifield in there too, so I have the same combination. This fight's in there either way. I like doing that a lot of the time on these mid-range salary fights, but give me Crute to be a little smarter this time and get a submission in the first round.
Yeah, that's a problem with Crute too. Smart is not really in his DNA. You watch the Anthony Smith fight. Yeah. Dude tries to stand that rage with him until he realizes his leg's pretty much sideways. And yeah, then he goes and he gets a takedown on one leg. Not the best fight IQ, but I mean, you literally just got destroyed on the feet against this guy a couple months ago. You'd think he comes in and he's going to wrestle early and often. Can he control him? That is a big question. Yeah, Sean V in here. I rewatched. The fight was over. Crute was finished. Like, Alonzo, what are you doing? Yeah, first of all, Mark Goddard definitely saved Crute in that fight. If it was anyone pretty much but Mark Goddard, the fight probably is called. And Alonzo Menifield, when he had him down, ground and pounding him, like, the dude wasn't throwing hard at all. He was giving little pitter-patter shots there. If he rained down some blows, that fight was over. So Crute showed toughness. So fight for your money. I just think, I hope Crute early and often. He knows he has to get takedowns. I'll side with the wrestler there. More pass than optimal too, it feels like. Just say Crute does come out, dominate round 1, 4 takedowns. Menifield only gets like a couple significant strikes, and then Menifield gets a second round knockout. Well, that might score 80. I don't want 80 really at 8K on this fight. So that's why I think there's more pass. If Crute wins, I feel way better he's on the optimal than Menifield. Even though I'd expect Menifield to be on the optimal, you tell me Menifield wins, I'm expecting him to be there. It's not a guarantee though. Whereas Crute, it'd be kind of hard not for him not to be with that wrestling upside is how I see it. But yeah, great fight to target. Closest line fight on the card, 8,200 8K. You'll be 100%.
If Menifield didn't grab that fence, then he wins the decision, scores 88 points with 2 knockdowns, and that might not even cut it. I would take 88 if you told me he was going to win. I would still take that, but at the same time, man, you're giving me 2 knockdowns. That's your only path to 100+ points is getting that knockout. So I would rather target the guy who can win a decision and score 120+ points. So Crute at 8.2K has a top 3 ceiling on the whole slate, in my opinion. Top 3 to 5. I guess a lot of big ceilings on this slate. But
for sure.
Crute core play for me. I think he's the first one. Nah, maybe he's not. He's definitely on my list already in the core report over on chipitnation.com.
Absolutely. Marley giving out a free one to the people. If you want to see his other 2 core plays on the site, his fight rankings, my fight breakdowns, overweight, underweight tags, hoops core plays, ownership projections in the Discord, all of that premium, head over to shipitnation.com. $59 a month, $599 a year. That's a great fight right there. We'll keep it rolling though. We also got PGA Showdown content, MLB tonight as well. All the stuff you need to be successful in DFS, we have you covered at shipitnation.com. We'll keep it rolling. Again, 14 fights. It's nice having 14 instead of 12. Plenty of fights to target. This is an interesting one, especially game theory wise. Yasmin Regi, Denise Gomes, 9,300. Yasmin, 6,900 for Gomes. Another big favorite right here in the women's division. Only women's fight on the card too. Regi somewhere around -400. Denise Gomes +300 on the way back. This fight's it's now +100, depending where you look, about +100, +105 to finish. So maybe 13 of the 14 fights are expected to finish. Yasmin +140 inside the distance prop. Gomes +700. So right here, this is similar. We'll talk about it later with Whittaker, Dricus du Plessis, but game theory wise, Denise Gomes is going to be 3, 4, maybe even 5 times as high owned as Yasmin in this fight. People are going to dog stink on this card. This fight is coin flip to finish. Highest floor, it feels like, for the cheap dogs right here. Yeah, a year or two, you could say. But Denise is going to be way higher owned, and rightfully so. It makes sense. But Yasmin, if you want to get different in this top tier, if you're eating all the chalk, plugging in someone like Yasmin will make you different. She will be the lowest owned fighter in this upper tier, and she's shown upside. Just look what she did last fight. Like, she does show she can put up 100, 120 plus DK points. I think this is going to be a fun fight, man. I'm pumped for this. 24 is Yasmin. 23 is Denise Gomes. These girls have a high ceiling in the division. Yasmin's striking is nasty. Good volume. Defensively sound. Has power. It's going to be a fun fight, man. I'm excited for it. What do you got?
Yeah, man. So in their last fights, Regi scored 129 DraftKings points. Gomes scored 132 DraftKings points. So you would think this is a great fight to target. But this is one of my least favorite fights to target because I do think it goes the distance, and I'm picking Regi to win. I'm sold on Regi. I think she's a possible future champion in this division. I like her striking a lot. She could strike at a high pace. She always throws combinations, and she's got big-time power as well. I expect her to walk down Gomes for 3 rounds, put up 80-plus points in a decision. It's just that's not going to cut it at 9,300. So I would rather target the other areas. It's just so would everybody else. Like you mentioned, I'm right in line with ownership. I would rather target the guys with higher ceilings, but they're going to be 2, 3 times, 4 times as much owned as Regi. So she makes sense for an ownership play, and she does have that high ceiling with a finish. It's just I would rather target the other high-priced people with 20 or less lineups. If I was making 150, I want to invest in Regi somehow. I'm cool getting some leverage if I was making that many lineups. It's just I project her to score under 10x her price tag, and that's never something with my 20 or less that I'm targeting heavily. So give me Regi to win all 3 rounds in this one. But Gomes, you already mentioned it. She's going to have the ownership on her side. I don't know that I want to match that. I'll probably just go elsewhere since I'm just so high on Regi as an actual prospect. Just a higher ceiling in the sport. But tough card, man. Tough card to be on the optimal lineup in.
No, if I had to pick one fight to completely fade, I think it would be this one as well. But, I mean, you get 55 points. I mean, Gomes is live. The thing about women's MMA DFS, we saw it last week. K-Fleek Burner in here. What's going on? He said, great week last week, just joining. It was great. But part of the reason why it was, women's underdogs came through. Carolina, Lipsky, like these women's big favorites tend not to work out is how I see it. They're a lot closer. They feel than the line indicates. But if you're talking Gomes, it's going to be 33% owned, 30% owned, which I wouldn't be surprised if she was. That's over owned. There's no doubt about that. And Yasmin, I think she's going to come in under owned for her chance at the optimal. But if you're only playing 10 lineups, 20 lineups, it is definitely hard to click that name when Volk's $100 left. You got all the killers up top for a couple $100 more. So, yeah, I mean, I play, like I said, I play 150. I play a bunch of teams. If I'm eating the chalk in other spots, Pantoja, Jimmy Crute, stuff like that, you plug in a Yasmin right there. That is how you get different. Like if you have, you save 300, everyone would go Tyra for 300 more. This lineup leaves 300. You drop down from Tyra to Yasmin. You leave 300. Well, you just eliminated a lineup that might have 45 dupes. Now it might go down to 5. That's a little stuff in MMA you have to think about. You don't want to win and hold hands with everyone. So that is how I will be using Yasmin. I like others in that range a lot more than her, but because of at her ownership, it allows you to eat chalk in other spots that I do like. We'll talk about Pantoja and other spots. Crute we liked as well. We'll get some ownership. Differentiating that way is how I'll use Yasmin. But yeah, in a vacuum, I like all the people pretty much in the upper tier more. But I think that'll be a fun fight. I'm pumped for this. Almost all these fights are going to be insane. It's a hell of a card, no doubt about that. But yeah, if there's one fight I crossed off, it probably would be this one. But yeah, I'm picking Yasmin. I think she'll be under owned for a chance at the optimal. I think Gomes will be higher owned. However, I mean, it's a $2,400 price difference on a card where we need value. So I am going to play some Gomes just naturally in that. Women's dogs have treated a lot of people well if you've rode that train for a while. So that's Uruguay and Denise Gomes. We'll keep it rolling. Another huge favorite right here. Jack Della, Maddalena, Josiah Harrell, 9,700 Jack Della, 6,500 for Harrell. Minus 1,000 right here for Jack Della, plus 675 on the way back for Josiah. Minus 800 this fight to end inside the distance. Minus 450 for Jack Della. What's his round one prop to? Jack Della in round one, minus 200. Jack Della inside round one. Multiple fighters on this card favored to end inside to finish in the first round. I mean, I'll take a first round knockout. I'll take what Jack Della has done in the past. He throws a lot of volume, hits like a truck. He's getting a step down in competition. He was supposed to fight Sean Brady. What an absolute war that would have been. Sean Brady is in the hospital last week, staph infection or something with his elbow, I saw. Get a short notice replacement. I don't know, man. I ain't fading Jack Della. He's definitely fought much better competition than Josiah. I think he knocks him out in the first round, but he's 9,700, man. We keep talking about it. Like, he scores 112. That might not be enough. Who knows? But I'll take 112. You always do. I'll play some Jack Della. I'm not getting to the other guy. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I only saw like 1 or 2 fights on this Harrell kid, but he looks like a 155-pounder with a little bit of power, with some offensive wrestling. But it was more terrible defensive wrestling from what I saw. I feel like he really doesn't even have much of an edge on the ground. He's more of a one-shot knockout or bust in this fight. But Maddalena is just a much better striker. I expect him to be the one getting the knockout. Minus 200 in round one. That's how I see it going. He's similar to Bo Nickel. If I can afford him, then sure, throw him in cash or GPPs. I think we're hunting for that 60-second bonus for them to be a lock on the optimal lineup. But if they miss the 60 seconds, then I think I prefer Maddalena for 100 cheaper because it's really similar to me where I think Bo Nickel gets one takedown, probably ends the fight shortly after. With Jack Della Maddalena, I think he gets one knockdown. So you're getting the extra 5 points there. Plus you're getting the extra 0.04 for significant strikes rather than ground strikes. So I would rather save the 100 and target JDM if I'm paying up for that much, but I'm not going to make it a point to pay up for any of these guys, 9,400 plus. I'm fine going more in the mid range. If I need to, I'll definitely have some lineups like that. But I would say if salary is unlimited, but I can only pick one of these top guys, I'd rather have JDM.
So he's your favorite out of everyone, JDM. I love it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Like he doesn't really have the wrestling upside, but he doesn't need it because Sean V, he says Jack Dell very live for 60-second bonus. Absolutely is. He could start him right away. Late first round finish. We love the buzzer beaters. If you've been playing MMA, obviously when it gets outside of that first minute bonus, you'd rather that fight be stopped 1 second left in the first round than you would it 2 minutes into that fight. You get all the volume there. So yeah, I mean, I think Jack Della rolls here. Not telling anyone something they don't know. I will have no Josiah in my 200 lineups or whatever I play. He beats me. At least we got good fights to watch throughout the whole card, but I'll be dead for the optimal, no doubt about that.
And Sean V said 10 points for the knockdown. I think I said 5 extra points, so you get his 10 points for the knockdown, or you get Bo Nichols 5 points for the takedowns. Kind of how I'm going.
Yeah, that's what you meant. Yeah, 5 points, or for the takedown, 10 points for the knockdown. The 5 different right there. Sean V's always on top of it, though. Our man Shark's in here. What's going on, Shark? Great card this week, no doubt about it. Go follow him on Twitter. He hopped on the show 2 weeks ago as well, broke down some fights. So love to see that, Shark. And again, we appreciate that like button for everyone coming who just came in here. 60 watching on this Friday. You do love to see that. Awesome UFC 290 card. We'll keep it rolling, though. The feature prelim right here. No, not feature prelim yet. Nico Price, Robbie Lawler, 8,900 for Price, 7,300 for Robbie Lawler. I think it is actually the feature prelim, if I'm not mistaken. This is retirement fight for good old Robbie. What a legend he has been. When you see retirement fights, though, it's not something I always love. However, we need dogs on this card, and you look at these odds, 8,900, 7,300, decent win equity when you're talking for Robbie Lawler right here. He's plus 200, somewhere around there, plus 190. Nico Price around minus 225, minus 250. So we've seen a good amount of line movement in this one. Nico Price opened up minus 155 with Robbie Lawler plus 135 on the way back. And then we got all the way down Nico Price, like minus 260 range, minus 270 at some spots. And Robbie Lawler has got some money this past day, which is interesting right there. Fight minus 225 to end inside the distance. Price minus 125 to finish. Robbie Lawler plus 400. This was what I was talking about earlier. I don't like dogs on this card. I wanted to pick a dog. I went to good old Robbie Lawler. Do I feel good about it? Absolutely not. Is he way over the hill? Absolutely is. But he still showed he could throw 80 significant strikes through 2 rounds last fight. Yeah, Barberena absolutely, he knocked him out. He put on a great performance, but Lawler was eating a bunch of shots. He kept walking forward. He kept throwing some of his own. And Nico Price, man, his fight IQ is very questionable. He's only 33, but he has been through so many wars himself. I think these two meet in the middle, throw down. I think the crowd goes crazy, and I need underdogs on this card. It is gross to do it. I hate picking guys going to be retire. Do I love it? Absolutely not. On a different card, would I pick it? Who knows? But I'll pick Robbie Lawler in this fight. With that being said, I will definitely play some Nico Price too. I think this fight is under-owned for a chance at the optimal. I think this is a complete war. I think it's similar to that Barberena fight we just saw. Both guys throw good volume. They meet in the middle. Someone goes down eventually. Someone gets a big score. I'll side with Lawler. I don't feel good about it, but hey, I need dogs on this card. Give me good old Robbie one more time to go out. What do you got?
No, well said. I like that. I'm down with everything you just said there. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 250. If either one of them gets a finish, I expect them to have a good chance at the optimal, especially Lawler. And I also don't think that either one of them will get too much ownership, so I like that. But if this does go the distance, I don't see either one of them scoring enough for the optimal, but it'll be easier for Lawler to get there if he's the one winning it. I don't see 120 point upside for either one of these guys. So if that's what it takes to win this card, then I would say this fight's off of it. But yeah, I would rather just root for Lawler in this one on a card where I'm needing underdogs. Let me root for the retiring guy who's been a great staple in the UFC for a long time. So yeah, if I'm making one lineup, Lawler's more likely to be on there. However, I'm going to make multiple lineups. I probably end up with around 20% price, 25% Lawler. So I'll be pretty similar on these two. But yeah, I'm going to go with the rooting aspect instead for my DraftKings lineups, and I'll hope that Lawler gets it done. It's just the longer this fight goes, I think it's going to play into Nico's favor. My ultimate prediction's a 3rd round knockout by Nico Price. But I'm with you on this one. Let's go, Robbie. That's who I'll be rooting for. That's who I would rather invest in. So we could say I'm picking him for the show's purpose anyway.
Yeah, and Nate D and Robbie, we trust. I'm not trusting them. I'm not doing that. But we play a salary game, and we need dogs. Robbie, the nature of this slate, he is going to be one of them. He'll fight for your dollar. He will. He will fight for your dollar. And then Nick Diaz, Robbie fight. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Robbie, he'll still fight for your dollar. He'll throw volume. He's 7,300. There's a lot of people in that range that we'll talk to that I like the favorites more than I like Nico Price here. So it's not even, I don't know what Nico Price I'm seeing yet either. Like, he didn't look good against Randy Brown. The last couple of fights, even when he beat Alex Oliveira, wasn't the best performance. One time, Robbie Lawler. But I think Nico Price in that range too. People are going to try and find the 300 for Volk. People will want Petrino more for 100. People will want Jalen Turner more for 100 less. People want Moreno for 200 less. So I think he falls in that dead range a little bit too, where he'll be lower owned than people think. I think Lawler will be higher owned than Nico Price, which I don't love. But yeah, that's the case for Nico Price, and I'll have some too. I'm expecting a war. I'm expecting a great fight. I think the winner is going to score well, but I need a dog. I'm going with Robbie Lawler. And yeah, I mean, Hall of Famer, no doubt. The dude gave us some of the best fights you'll ever see in the UFC. So absolutely love to see that. Give me Robbie Lawler one time, but that should be an absolute banger. Next fight, man. I don't know how much time we need to spend on this. Bo Nickel, Valentin Woodburn, the biggest favorite in UFC history. Bo Nickel, at least he opened that way. And if he closes, which he's going to close, I think he will go down. He's minus 2,400 some books, minus 25, minus 28 on DK, minus 3,000 on FanDuel. He will close as the biggest favorite in UFC history. Under 0.5 rounds, I see at one book on Bovada, plus 130. Under 1.5 rounds, minus 450. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 1,600. Bo Nickel inside the distance, minus 1,000. Bo Nickel in round 1, minus 500. I mean, we're not telling you anything you don't know, man. Bo Nickel should be fighting Hamzat Chimaev or something. Give him all the smoke. He wants the smoke. This dude, if you follow college wrestling, you follow any of that, he trains with the best people in the world. His striking's coming together, but his wrestling on a different level, man. I don't know. Props to Valentin for taking this fight. It's fun at the press conference. He's talking smack, all this. Yeah, it's going to be a quick night, though. Does he get the 60-second bonus is my question for you, and break it down.
Yeah, I would take my chances that he does not get the 60-second bonus. But yeah, I feel like I've already hit on this fight multiple times. I expect Nickel to go out there, get a takedown in the fight shortly afterwards. It's just that I don't think it's going to be long enough into the fight or short enough, the 60-second. But I don't think he's going to be able to score enough points to make the optimal lineup. It could just be like his last fight where he scored 100 DraftKings points, which is good. But at 9,800, the highest price we've ever seen, 100 is not going to cut it. No. So I think he's going to get plenty of ownership. I'm going to be underweight, hoping that the 60 seconds doesn't come. I saw a picture of Woodburn on Twitter. He's wearing this dope tracksuit to the press conference, and he looks like a freaking statue's torso. And I was like, damn, maybe this guy's got a shot. And then I went and watched the film, and man, he's just so slow. All he is power. He could land that one shot. So if you are throwing 150 and you're cool wasting up to 5%, go for it. But that's the only way I would get to him. I don't think that one shot's coming. One takedown, maybe some shots on the ground afterwards, and then a rear naked choke. That's how I see it going. But give me Nickel to score 103 points and just not make it on the optimal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be playing 150. I could be playing 8,050, and I'm still not playing Valentin. And guess what? Maybe that's a flaw of mine. It's MMA with 4-ounce gloves, man. It's a sport. You see wild things happen. Catch someone on the chin. I mean, I always think just the Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards fight. For 22 minutes of that fight, 23 minutes, it was Leon by anything he wanted. Nate Diaz lands one punch, and if he wasn't pointing at him messing around, he could have finished that. So you never know what happens in this sport. You only need to connect once, or you slip on a banana peel, you break your whatever it happens. I'm not trying to jinx any fighters that way, but we've seen crazy things happen. We've seen DQs. The Alan Patrick Mason Jones fight, he's getting his ass beat, or Dean Barry fight we talked about last week against Mike Jackson. Like, crazy things happen where they end up in the winner. If so, I definitely will not be having it. But
Bo Nickel could hit him with some 12-6 elbows and knock him out and get DQ'd. You never know, man. That's the only reason. Like, those are the reasons. Like, I'm fine taking up to a 5% shot on anybody. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I almost never get exposure to these types of fighters.
Yeah, exactly. You won't see them in my lineups. The people that do, hopefully they pay the rake, is all I'll say, but we'll see. Turner missed weight by 2 pounds. Oh, no. At least it's 2 pounds. Man, he was talking about it was one of his best weight cuts, too. Well, that leads us literally right into the fight we were about to talk about. Awesome fight right here. I'm so super pumped for it. Jalen Turner, Dan Hooker, 8,800 Jalen Turner, 7,400 Dan Hooker. This fight, let me check the odds right here. Minus 280 around that to minus 300 for Jalen Turner, plus 240 on the way back. For Hooker, fights minus 260 to minus 290 to end inside the distance. Turner minus 160, Dan Hooker plus 550 to finish. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of line movement on this one. DK opened it at minus 130, took it down, and then brought it back up at minus 150, and it just slowly kept climbing. I was able to get a minus 180 on Jalen Turner, which is looking good now. I don't love to see the weight miss, but man, I think I love Jalen Turner. Two of the biggest guys you'll see at 155. How Dan Hooker made 145 is crazy. 6 foot, fills out for the division. Jalen Turner, 6'3", though. So he had the weight cut down to a T, it looks like. Now he misses weight by 2 pounds, so it's not the most surprising. But man, everything this dude throws is hard. Whatever it is, it lands, it hurts people. His wrestling's getting better. He spent a little time with Hamzat Chimaev during this camp. He said those dudes got cardio for days. Those dudes work so hard. He got a lot better that way. I do love to see that because I think Dan Hooker's going to try and wrestle because I don't think he's going to be able to stand and bang with Jalen Turner. Maybe I'm wrong. Hooker is a better striker than he is a wrestler. Dan Hooker's stud. But I question his durability ever since that Dustin Poirier fight, man. If you guys haven't watched that fight, I don't even know if you want to. Sometimes I even have to look away like, dude, stop the fight. That's as bad as it gets. One of the best wars you'll ever see. But ever since that fight, the durability I question. Chandler puts him out early. Then he gets Claudio Puelles the fight after, or last fight. He's like minus 170. Just absolutely walked through him. That was one of the easier bets there. But I just don't know. I don't think he can take what Jalen Turner is going to give him. I think Jalen Turner knocks him out in the first round. However, we're talking 8,800, 7,400. If Dan Hooker wins this fight, I have a very hard time seeing him not being on the optimal. Like, this is going to be a high-paced fight. Turner's going to push the pace. Hooker's a great fighter by himself. He's going to get ownership in this range. I just think Jalen Turner's too much. I think he hurts him early. I think he puts him away in the first. But, I mean, what a sick fight this is. It's my favorite fight on the card, not name the title fights here. And maybe even with the title fights, I'm pumped for this one. I love me some Jalen Turner. What do you got?
I agree with everything you just said. I really have nothing else to add. I love this fight for GPPs. I expect Turner to get a first-round knockout. He's super dangerous on the feet. He's been knocked out multiple times himself, though, so Hooker's live for a knockout, too. Hooker's live to wrestle. But if Hooker pulls off the upset, he almost always scores well. And at 7,400, he has 100-point upside. So I'll probably try and get leverage to both of these guys and get this in close to all my lineups. I feel like I could be near 40% or so on Turner, 30% on Hooker. I love this fight, but give me Turner by first-round knockout. I could just see Hooker being one of my highest-owned underdogs on the card, though, just because he's got a great chance at scoring 100 points, whether it's a finish or a decision, because he should look to wrestle if this is going to go the distance, and he could land multiple takedowns in every round here. I always like that. It's just, you're right. I don't know that his chin holds up long enough against a guy like Turner. So The 2-pound miss might not even really hurt him as long as it's not an injury, as long as his cardio is not really affected by it. I think that might help him a little bit with his defensive wrestling. Just be the bigger, heavier guy, and put your weight more so on Hooker rather than letting him control you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to watch the weigh-ins at this because WW said he didn't look great either. He was the last fighter to weigh in. I mean, those 24 hours of rehydration is huge. And with how big he is for the division, like he's going to walk tomorrow and at that octagon at 180, I think, or something like that. I mean, I
heard he put on like 7 pounds of muscle before this fight. I don't know how a guy like him puts on 7 pounds of muscle and even cuts down to where he is, but yeah, it's not too shocking that he missed weight after hearing that.
No, but he was saying it was like the best weight cuts. I mean, and he's had it down. He didn't miss weight prior. So yeah, I'm gonna check out the weigh-ins after this. I think Turner's too much early, but yeah, if Dan Hooker, I will definitely have plenty of Dan Hooker just for the fact of if he wins, you can almost pencil him into the optimal is how I see it. But what a great fight. And yeah, Samuel saying main card going to be fire. Top to bottom, this card is going to be fire for sure. Main card, though. Bo Nickel starts it off, and you get this Jalen Turner fight. 3 fights left, though. 1 fight, and then we got 2 title fights. Should be a fun one right here. Robert Whittaker, Dricus du Plessis, 9,100 Whittaker, 7,100 Dricus, minus 400 for Big Rob, plus 290, plus 300 for Dricus. This fight is minus 210 to finish. Whittaker minus 115. Dricus plus 400. So Whittaker is definitely going to be with Yasmin the lowest owned in this upper tier, and Dricus is going to be one of the highest owned dogs. I think Whittaker absolutely styles on him. I think he makes it look easy. I think Whittaker is going to go down as one of the most underrated fighters of all time, just because he couldn't beat one guy called Israel Adesanya. Others, I think he'd be holding this belt for a while. I think he's better wherever the fight goes. I think leg kicks are going to be a big thing in this fight early, limit the movement of Dricus. The thing, though, and why Dricus and why I won't have zero Dricus, I think he'll be way over-owned. He'll be one of the highest-owned dogs. I think Whittaker will be under-owned. However, even if Whittaker gets a second or third round knockout, it might not be enough at 9,100, which is the problem and why the ownership will be there. The thing with Dricus, though, and why he is live, and if he does win, he'll be on the optimal. Whittaker's durability is a big question. He has been hurt in so many fights, and Dricus hits like a truck. He's not technical. He just brawls, it seems. He has power. When he hits you, they absolutely feel it. He did get his nose fixed, it sounds like. He always breathes through his mouth. He looks dead in the first 2 minutes. Maybe that helps him a little bit. I still think he has poor cardio. I think it's Whittaker, whatever he wants. I think he knocks him out. Dricus is going to be dangerous early, though. No doubt about that. But yeah, I got Whittaker here. And we're talking game theory. We're talking ownership. Dricus might be 3-4 times as higher owned than Whittaker. Just like the Yasmin Denise Gomes fight, throw them in the same boat. I like Whittaker for sure, but I like Volk for $100 more. I like Turner for $300 less. Like Petrino's right in that range. He's going to go forgotten, but same thing, like I said, with Yasmin. He's going to be in my pool because if I'm eating chalk at other spots, he will help you get difference and lower a lot of. You leave $100 salary with a lineup with Whittaker and you don't have Volk. You just drop so many dupes from there because everyone's going to want to go Volk over Whittaker, and rightfully so. The floor, the ceiling, like it looks better that way. But we're talking MMA DFS, and I think Whittaker does knock out Dricus. I got him in second round, maybe third round. I think Whittaker gets it done in the second round, though. Wouldn't even be surprised first round. I got head kick Robert Whittaker, too, if we're being exact here. But yeah, I've been waiting for the Dricus fade. I think Whittaker styles on him. What do you got?
Another great breakdown. I just think Whittaker's so much better than this guy. DDP's so sloppy. He's real powerful, though, and he can hang in there volume-wise. He looks like he gasses after 1 round, but he still fights it out for 2 more whole rounds. And now you mentioned he fixed the nose, so maybe that'll get even better. I don't think he can hang stylistically, but judges don't know what the hell they're watching. I could see him winning a decision just by hanging in there, landing some big shots, hanging in there with volume. Maybe he gets a takedown or 2 also. But yeah, I just think Whittaker's such a better fighter everywhere. So I'm picking him to get a decision win. I'll pick him to win all 3 rounds. But I did the math earlier. I think he's been to like 7 3-round decision wins, and he averages 71 DraftKings points in those 3-round decision wins. It's not going to cut it at 9,100. You mentioned everything, like all the reasons to play him. It's the ownership. He's so much better. He could get the knockout. I definitely agree with all that, but I'm only getting there if I want an ownership play. I would rather try and get different just by targeting the mid-range more than these chalky high price guys. That's probably my route, and I'm going to fade Whittaker. I don't really want to compete with all the DDP ownership, but if he wins this fight, I think he's going to have a really good chance at the optimal lineup. So he'll be an underdog I'm tossing in. But since I'm picking Whittaker to win a unanimous decision, I would guess this fight's not in my single entry, and I'm just going to hope that he wins with the 71-point score.
Yeah, no, like I said, the case for Whittaker is the leverage, the ownership by a mile, the leverage off Adrikis, and I do think he wins, and I do think he knocks him out. So it's easier that way, but still, like a second-round knockout, 90 to 100 points, I don't think that's enough to be on the winner on this card. So, yeah, this fight, tougher to get to. Adrikis is going to be so overowned, though. Again, I'll have some just because if he wins, he is on the optimal. But, yeah, I think Whittaker's style is on him here. Samuel, there's a ton of leverage at 9K. Yeah, Yasmin and Whittaker for sure. You know, ownership, they're going to be head and shoulders below the rest. So we got 2 fights left. Marley, I will throw it to you on these 2 fights. I keep stealing your breakdowns, and you're like, I got nothing else to add. So I'll let you go.
You're good. You're crushing it
on the last 2. But 2 title fights. Again, we appreciate it if you hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button. 60 people watching it live. A lot of likes right now. Many people will be watching it on replay. And again, do not forget, like button helps us out a ton. And if you want all the fight breakdowns from me, overweight, underweight tags, Marley's fight rankings, all of our core plays, Hoops core plays, who's shipped like 4 weeks in a row. That's all premium content over here at shipitnation.com. Ownership is in the Discord as well. Marley dropped that. It's going to be live on the site, or it's going to be on the site and in Solver coming up in the coming weeks. Still back testing stuff, making sure everything's right there. But projections and ownership will be in the Discord. And yeah, our partner optimizer, the Solver, $25, $24.99 exactly for one sport. Otherwise, you can add it on for all sports as well. 2 great title fights right here, man. Starting Alexander, we got to start with the favorite. Brandon Moreno taking on Alexandra Pantoja, 8,700 Moreno, 7,500 Pantoja. Brandon Moreno sitting now around minus 215, taking a little steam lately. Pantoja plus 185, plus 70, plus 170 on the way back. This fight is minus 120, roughly to finish inside the distance. Moreno plus 200, Pantoja plus 300. The trilogy fight, Pantoja 2-0 against Moreno, as everyone will tell you. I threw those fights away. Those fights were years ago. One in the Tough House, one 2018, I believe. Both guys, different fighters, especially Moreno, head and shoulders above. So Pantoja did get a submission in one, absolutely dominated, unanimous decision in the other. What are you doing in this one, man? This is another fight, game theory-wise. Pantoja is going to be 2-3 times higher owned than Moreno with that $1,200 difference. What do you see in this one?
I think it's probably an important fight since it's 5 rounds and they're kind of in that sweet spot in the mid-range where I just find myself clicking on this fight. And I understand the Pantoja love because he's 2-0 against this guy. He's only 7,500. He scored 67 in their 3-round decision win, but now he's got 2 more rounds to work with. Any win from Pantoja, he's going to have a decent shot at the optimal lineup. So I like him in all formats. But he was the first pick on that tough show, and Moreno was like the 16th pick. He was the last pick. And I think Moreno's probably the most improved fighter in the entire UFC since that time.
Of all time, it's got to be, man. That dude is insane.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Moreno. I just think he's the better fighter everywhere. I think he's a better striker, better wrestler, better grappler. Well, maybe not better grappler. It could be a fun grappling match between these two, actually. But I just expect a high-paced, fun fight for 25 minutes. If either gets a finish, then they got a great chance at the optimal, especially Pantoja. But I could see Moreno winning even with the finish and scoring 90 points and just not getting there. So I'm not going to be all in for that reason. But on their salaries, I do think there's a decent chance they could either one of them could hit 100-plus points here. So I'm going to be clicking on it a lot. I don't really have a preferred place. I guess it would be Pantoja because I would rather save the $1,200 if I need to pay up for these Bo Nickals and JDMs. But my path, the way I see it in my head, is I want to target the middle range as much as I can. They both fit there, but I think that could lead me to more Moreno lineups if he's going to be the lower owned of the two. So I like that move. I'm picking him to get 3 or 4 of the rounds on the scorecards and probably score in the 90s, something like that.
I wish I was on your side because it would make this way easier. The game theory play is definitely Brandon Moreno. It's not even close. Nature of this card, because how dogs are so tough to come by, this is on a different card, especially the ones we've seen lately with favorites a lot less. It'd be closer. I mean, Pantoja maybe would still be a little higher on, but we see a lot closer in ownership. That 1,200 with the lack of dogs will make Pantoja be a lot higher owned. The problem is I knew I was on Pantoja the second this fight was announced. I think he has his number. Again, I'm throwing those two away. I think the main thing in this fight is going to be the leg kicks. I think Pantoja early is going to win the first 2 rounds. I think Moreno live bet is the best way to go in this fight. If you are trying to get on Moreno's side, I would definitely not lay minus 200 plus. Pantoja starts fast. He's never been to the championship rounds, though, and Moreno only gets better as the fight goes. I think the leg kicks from Pantoja, I give him the power advantage on the feet, so I think he can hurt Moreno. Moreno's durability is good as it gets there, but I think Pantoja can win there. I think Pantoja is more likely to take the back and stall out a 5-minute round, do it or win a round that way than Moreno is to take his back at least early. Grappling, both guys are insane. These guys are both as well-rounded as it gets. It's finally nice we're not seeing a Figueiredo Moreno title fight, some new blood there. But I think the big thing is early, I think Pantoja will have a lot of success. I am worried about the cardio down the stretch, but I think the leg kicks early, I think he limits the movement from Moreno, which will help him in 25 minutes. I'm going to say decision. I think he can finish Moreno. I wouldn't be shocked there. Confidence, yeah, not the most confident, of course, but the problem is then you go back to game theory like we're talking. DFS game theory-wise, ownership, Moreno feels like the little better play. However, Moreno could win this fight, and I'm still not convinced he's on the optimal. Jalen Turner can easily score more for 100 or for 100 more. Aguilar, Ribovics, all of them for a little less. They still have good inside the distance props, better inside the distance props actually than Moreno that way. So game theory wise, Moreno's definitely a good play. I'm going to have some for that reason. Another thing too, I think he can mix in takedowns the later this fight goes. If Pantoja slows, he has shown suspect takedown defense, and Moreno definitely has improved his wrestling. So I wouldn't be surprised if Moreno does get on the optimal and win this fight. I think he does mix in a lot of wrestling the later this fight goes. But I'm saying Pantoja. I'm going Pantoja by decision. I knew I was on him from the beginning. I think those leg kicks early, they're nasty from him, and I think he'll invest and get it done that way. But at 2 to 3 times the ownership, I'm going to play tons of Pantoja just because I don't like dogs on this card. However, I think he probably will be the highest owned fighter on the card, maybe second highest. And yeah, I'll eat it. And that's why I'll mix in some Whittaker, some Yasmin. But if I actually think he wins, if I think he wins and I hate all other dogs on this card, I'm not just going to fade because of ownership. But hell of a fight. Brandon Moreno, one of the nicest, most likable guys out there. So if he wins, I'm not going to be sad by any means. But Pantoja is my pick. Who do you got before we go main event? Andrew Black, really like the new site, been killing it in MMA. Absolutely love to see that, Andrew. When will the MMA info be out? All will be out tonight. I'm almost done with my slate breakdowns. I think Marley, do you have your fight rankings up right now?
Yeah, I just finished right before the podcast, so mine's up.
So
I don't know if it's transferred to the site or not, actually.
Yeah, I think it is, but if his isn't up right now, it'll be up after this show. Mine will be up before the baseball show too at 4:30 Eastern. So I'm almost all done. All of that will be up in a couple hours. We always get it out the day before. GG Suki, I'm late. What's good? What's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Hit that like button when you do come in. Main event time, second of 2 5-round fights. One of the greatest of all time. I said one of the greatest. Alexander Volkanovski keeps getting the job done. Actually, he lost last fight. Coming up, of course, to 155 against Islam. But he gained stock in that fight. Even in a loss, he gained stock against Islam in that one. Taking on Yair Rodriguez, some new blood here in the featherweight division. I'm excited for this one, man. 9,200 Volk, 7,000 for Yair. Looking at the odds in this one, Volk is sitting around minus 365, minus 370 now. It was up minus 400 beginning of the week. Yair has taken some steam. Looking at the inside the distance prop, about minus 140, minus 130 to end inside the distance. Volk is plus 135. Yair plus 400. I'll let you start, man. I don't want to take your breakdown. What you got in this one?
Yeah, I love this fight. It'll be close to an all-in fight for me. But yeah, I'm going Volkanovski for sure. I'm just so high on Volkanovski. I think he's so good. And I'm going to be picking him over everybody in the division until Topuria, man. That'll be a good fight. I don't know who I'm picking yet in that one. But yeah, I want to see that fight so bad. So I'm going to be rooting for Volkanovski here just to see it. But Volkanovski can strike at a very high pace, win this fight with a striking-based decision. He can land a knockout in any round, but he can also wrestle in any round, and that's why I really like him here. I think if the striking's close, he can mix in one takedown and then dominate the rest of whatever's left of that round to put a stamp on the round and get the judges to like him here. He averages over 110 points in his wins. And at 9,200, if he gets over 110 points, I think he knocks off all these guys priced above him. So I'm going to be very heavy on Volkanovski, but any lineup I don't have with him, I'll probably have Yair Rodriguez because Yair could score 100-plus points with a knockout in any round. But he also scored 81 points in a 5-round loss against Holloway, just super high volume. I think he could win a striking match that way and score 100-plus in a striking match too. So I like Yair as more of a hedge play, but if he wins, he's gonna be on the optimal lineup. So I'll be close to all in on this fight, but Volkanovski will be in 50% or more than 50% of my lineups. I'll say he's my favorite at cost in the 9K range, and I expect 110 plus points from him. So give me Volkanovski.
I try to talk myself into Yair all week, and I did. I knew why I did it, and I finally caught myself just because of the nature of this card, hating all the underdogs. It's like, come on, like Yair, talent-wise, the best fighter down here, and it's not even close. Yair's a complete stud. His striking's insane. The kicks come from everywhere. His boxing is getting better. Definitely not on Volk's level boxing, but those kicks, he can catch a knee, he can catch a head kick. Like, he can catch Volk at any time when it is on the feet, no doubt about that. It's not – the line is way off if you're telling me it's just a striking match. But I kept coming back to it. I think it's competitive on the feet. Volk's as good as it gets with boxing, too. Throws great volume. What he did at Max Holloway was insane. But the takedowns just feel like they're going to be there at any time he wants them. And I think he's going to come in, and I think he's going to wrestle. Max Holloway took Yair Rodriguez down 3 times. Max Holloway never wrestles at all. He was getting hurt in that fight. Yair's foot ballooned up. Those first 2 rounds were absolutely insane. But if Max Holloway's taking you down at ease, what is Volk going to do if he wants to take you down? And when he does get you on the mat, the ground and pound is nasty. I wanted to pick Yair. The thing about this one is Yair could, in a loss, I'm not a fight stack person at all. I'm still not going to get to a fight stack on this card. But if there was ever a card to do it, I don't think it's the craziest thing, because if no dogs win, I could see Yair putting up 60 points in a loss, something like that, especially if Volk's going to want to strike with them. And then Volk mixes in some takedowns and he gets 120. It's not the craziest thing. I'm not, like I said, I don't think I'm going to do it yet on a 14-fight card. If it was 11 fights, I would definitely have some fight stacks, no doubt about it. But you say I'll have some Yair because he can get there in a loss. And if he wins, he is surely on the optimal. I think he's definitely live for a KO. But I just don't think Volk's going to strike with him long enough for it to happen. Again, I don't know that. That's the beauty of MMA DFS. I think he's going to come in with a wrestling-heavy game plan. I think he'd be dumb not to. Volk strikes me as a very sharp fighter. But maybe he just comes and he's like, yeah, everyone's talking about the same thing. Yeah, you're the striker. Maybe he just wants to go out and make a statement and be the better striker, which maybe he can. I wouldn't be shocked to see Volk win a striking match. The dude is absolutely insane. But, yeah, I'm going to have a bunch of this fight for sure. Volk will be one of the highest-owned fighters. Yair will be one of the highest-owned fighters, rightfully so. This is chalk on fine eating, just like Pantoja was last fight, and that is why people like Yasmin and Whittaker will be in my pool. Talked about Ribovics earlier, Aguilar. You can't just eat chalk at all 6 spots. You got to get different somewhere. That is why they will be in my pool there. But, yeah, I'm going to go Volk. I think Volk by wrestling, takedowns. I'll say this. I don't know. Decision late finish is a little tough for me. I'll say late finish for Volk. 25 minutes, a long time to be in there, but yeah, give me Volk in this one. Hebrew Cheeto, Rio in here. What's up, my man? Excited to see you down in Utah later for DP and Gaethje. Chris Austin in here just got caught up. He had a big night in MLB as well. That's all 14 fights, Marley. Tell the people what they get at Ship It Nation, and any final thoughts you want to give the people.
Hell yeah, you go to Ship It Nation, you get all the sports, one price. For MMA, we'll have all our stuff up today. You can get titles, core report, my core report, Hoops core report, who's crushing it every week, taking down the tournament every single week, it seems like. So I think it's worth it alone for just MMA, but you get all sports. We just started up best ball, so we're doing that each week now. I'm stoked about it. But yeah, this is a very interesting card this week. 200K up top. Awesome to see. Think of ways to get different. Title mentioned a ton of them. Real smart ideas for this week. Most people won't be leaving a lot of salary. I think that's a great way just to be contrarian in that way, even if you're targeting non-contrarian fighters. But yeah, man, go sign up. We'll have all the info you need for this slate. We crushed it last weekend. Hopefully we'll do it again.
Absolutely. And if you do sign up, make sure you get in the Discord as well. Again, ownership projections Marley did drop in there. They are pinned in the MMA chat. Shortly, that will be in the coming weeks. That will be on the site as well and linked into Solver. And again, this show was sponsored by Drafters. Absolutely love Drafters over here. Of course, no bias. Drafters.com, $100, $20 to $100. They will match up to 100% using the promo code SHIPIT. And if you do not use the promo code SHIPIT, they will only match 50%. So you make sure to use the promo code. As G. Ryzen showed yesterday, they'll give you a free Benjamin if you do put in $100. Awesome stuff, Marley. Always love these MMA shows. I'm actually not going to be on the show next week. I will be on vacation. Marley will be in here, probably Hoop as well, but you'll find someone. Also have all my content up. But UFC 290, 14 fights. It's a great one. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out. We'll see you in the Ship It Nation Discord. For Marley, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.